Dakota, look at here. This is a baby corn plant. You know, this corn plant is going to grow up tall, and it's going to be taller than you, and it's going to be taller than Noah, and it's going to be taller than Daddy. Yeah, these corn plants, we'll come back, maybe we'll come back later in the summer to the same field, and these corn plants will be bigger than all of us.
Don't pull them out though. The soil formed by having plants on it, right? All soils in the world, they formed, but with a living community of plants and biology, living biology. So in order for the soil to form, you have to have living roots in it. And tillage was something that humans introduced eons ago that has been a very destructive force on our soil. It was something that we felt like we had to use. We didn't know any other way to do it. But in the last 40 to 50 years, we've learned that we can farm kind of mimicking Mother Nature a little bit more and allowing the soil biology to function just like it's supposed to, with roots living and dying. So the idea here is to grow the crops that we need to survive on, but feed the soil at the same time and keep the soil healthy. Because the healthier we keep the soil, the more it will give back to our crops. And the healthier the crops will be, and the healthier the food that come off the land will be. And this is proving itself out.
So can you describe a little bit the difference between what we're looking at here versus what you would see in a more of a conventionally tilled farm?
So like this is very wet soil. Feel that?
Yeah.
It's very wet soil. And if this didn't have all of this root mass on it, it would be too wet to plant. But because it has all of this structure, this soil structure, soil aggregation, because of that, we can drive on it and we can plant it.
And what causes the soil aggregation? What do you mean by that?
Roots and the biology in the soil, fungi, all kinds of living organisms, plants and animals, bacteria, all their relationships. So they form and they get this aggregation in the soil. It looks like that. Looks like these little peds. And tillage breaks that all apart. And just like composting,
and it kills the living organisms.
Yeah. It kills them. And not only that, but when you introduce oxygen into the soil, by mixing the soil up, it's like composting the soil. The biology goes crazy, right? They eat all the organic matter and then they die. Well, for a short term, you release a bunch of fertility, but in the long term, you break all of this aggregation down. And you break the soil down and it gets hard and compacted and it won't absorb water, it won't store water, all of those things. So like soils in this area that have been farmed for 150 years now are down to 2% organic matter. These soils you're standing on right now here after 40 years of no-till and cover crops are at 6 to 7% organic matter, getting close to back to what it was when it was prairie.
Because Grandpa's been doing this kind of no-till farming for 40 years.
40 years.
He was one of the first, really one of the very first in North Dakota to even do it.
So what I keep trying to design systems. So we're getting back to this now. How do we grow a corn crop and also do something to help the soil at the same time? Now the corn itself is helping the soil because it's live roots, but any prairie soil or forest soil doesn't just have one kind of tree, just doesn't have one kind of plant, one kind of grass, one kind of form. It has multiple species in it, right? So how do we grow multiple species but still harvest a crop that we can use as humans? And this is where we're at right now, standing here. So widen the corn rows out so we can come down with like that little drill that we were looking at, with multiple species of plant seeds in it, and plant in between the corn rows what we want. Instead of growing weeds, we'll grow the plants we want. We'll design a cover crop mix that will fit our cropping rotation, but give some diversity into the plant community. So it'll keep everything energized in the soil, keep it all healthy, and it's going to make, like right now, corn, any of the crops we raise are monocultures. There's only one crop growing in the field for all the year, and then there's nothing growing in it the rest of the year. It's called monoculture cropping.
Yeah.
So we're trying to diversify that into multi-species plantings, but still with the same production at lower inputs than we were getting fertilizing it and planting it to monocultures. And that's the goal, and we're getting really close. And this might be the system that does it.
So besides rye and corn, what else did you have in this field over the last 12 months?
I have a 4-year, in the last 12 months, so like last fall, I had a multi-species cover crop that as soon as the rye came off, I planted faba beans, flax, turnip, radish, and the volunteer rye. So that's what was in here last fall. And it got like this big, and it was just lush and green. And then the winter killed it, all except the rye, because the rye overwinters. Then that came up, lived over winter, came up this spring. And while the rye was still alive, I had corn planted in here, growing. Then I sprayed the rye out. Now the corn is growing. Now I'm coming back in here with another multi-species.
So what is the mix that you want to put in between the corn? And how tall do you let the corn get before you plant the new?
Usually about this high. So not very long. This time of the year, corn grows fast. That's why, like I said, in a few weeks we'll be in here. What I need to come in. I've got a few weeds. See these weeds?
Yeah.
I don't want these weeds in here. Okay. So I'll come in here with a herbicide application. I'll kill everything except for the corn, and then immediately or very soon afterwards come in with the cover crops. And then literally I'll be planting my own weeds, weeds that I want to grow out here.
And you're not afraid of them competing with the corn and reducing your yield?
It seems like not. I mean, the little bit of work that's been done with it, it seems like it's fine as long as the corn has the jump on it and is capturing the sunshine. And the farmers, and I mean, there's a lot of farmers that go, this is crazy. You have to use all the space. You have to capture all the sunlight. Well, what we're finding is by widening the corn rows out to this extreme width, the sun is coming in and hitting the entire plant. So you're getting more solar energy in the entire plant. And you're getting even though you're crowding the corn into zones, you're getting just as good a yields on the whole field as you would if you had them in 30-inch spacing or 20-inch spacing.
Because science, physics,
yeah, and it's
geometry,
all to do with solar energy.
Energy.
Allowing some solar energy to get in between the corn allows you to also grow cover crops. We can't do this in a full stand, because as soon as you spread these rows out, they canopy over, and there's nothing that will grow underneath the corn canopy. Mm-hmm. But now widening this out, it will allow just enough sunlight in there to grow an undergrowth. Kind of like you're in a forest, there's always some low-growing plants. That's what I'm doing, putting some low-growing plants in here.
So they're just to keep the soil healthy?
Just to keep the soil healthy, yeah. And like the plants I'll put in here, a lot of them will be pollinators. So there's nothing friendly about a corn crop for pollinators, but I'll put plants in here that will be pollinators. So there will be plants in here, so throughout the year they'll be blooming at different times.
So it's good for the insect biology.
Absolutely. I was in a field last year that had buckwheat and clovers and mustards in it, and it was just, there were unbelievable amounts of insects inside of a cornfield. It was a beautiful cornfield, and it ran just about as good as if it would have been solid corn.
And that's not a threat. The pollinators are not a threat to the corn itself.
No, in fact, almost in every case, there are insects that grow. If all it's here is corn, there's insects that will attack corn, because that's just the way nature is. Yeah. And if you don't have the insects that live on other plants to counteract those insects, then you overpower the corn. So then we use all kinds of science and technology to try to beat down those insects.
Yeah.
There's our sprayer, Gregory.
So you're having to come in with additional applications of insecticide or something like that for the corn borers or whatever it is.
Right, corn borers, rootworms, whatever it is, where what we're trying to do is diverse, give not only the soil, but the insects above ground and below ground, insects and different species of flora and fauna diversity so that they kind of counteract each other.
That is cool. That is cool.
You're standing in one of maybe a couple fields in the nation.
So what would you say to a group of people who want to come and say, okay, I see you're doing something it's a conservation practice, it's healthy for the earth. How do you compare or contrast to what we hear so commonly in our culture about organic farming and how that's the way to go? And how this is like or unlike or similar or different or better or worse than what typically is considered organic farming?
It appears like there's kind of this would be considered regenerative farming, and that's a kind of a term that's come to light recently. It's when you took low disturbance, high residue farming systems and then added more plants into it with cover crops. It became regenerative, and that is a term that's ringing a lot throughout society right now in the science circles. It might be a joining of the organic and the conservation community that actually get to where we can use less pesticides, but we can be healthier on the soil, because tillage is a major culprit with soil. And unfortunately, so far, most of the organic systems have had to rely extensively on tillage.
Tillage, yeah. To manage weeds.
To manage weeds, to prepare soils, but mainly to manage weeds. Yep. Well, we have work to do.
I keep picking them.
Aria's picking them?
Yeah. Count them.
Okay. I should have her picking weeds. Can you find weeds, Aria?
She thinks she was picking a little bit.
Oh, Aria got some. Yeah.
Gimme.
Did you get some of those, Aria?